Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of AI-102 series. Before we start our video, please let me know in the comments if you are following the series. Let's revise previous question in just a minute so it will be fresh in our mind. But if you want to understand them in detail with proper explanation, make sure you watch the first episode of our AI-100 series. I will provide the link in the I button as well as in the description. Also, full playlist link will be available in the description and the comments, so you can save that playlist, so it will all the videos will be available in an orderly manner. So without any further delay, let's get started. So which computer vision client library used to analyze image description? Visual features type dot description. Which computer vision client library? So we are following doing it very quickly as we have already covered this part in the previous video, so we try to finish it early. Which computer vision client library used to analyze image text? Visual features type dot text. How to read a file from a local system? File dot open read. Which Azure service is best suited for analyzing visual content in images and videos to categorize content? Azure AI Vision. Which of the following best describes the prediction made by a machine learning model? Probabilistic values based on correlation found in training data. To enhance security, which of the following steps should be taken to protect account keys for Azure AI keys? Azure Key Vault. You want to index a collection of the text documents and search them for a mobile application. Which service should you use to create the index? Azure AI Search. A data scientist has used Azure machine learning to train a machine learning model. How can you use the model in your application? Use Azure machine learning to publish the model, and then we can consume it using REST API. When configuring diagnostic logging for Azure AI services, which of the below actions are necessary? We have to enable the diagnostic setting, then select the type of logs and configure log destination. You built a bot by using bot framework and start in local computer. You need to validate the functionality of the bot. What should you do to connect before you connect to the bot? So you run the bot framework emulator. So we have covered all the questions of the previous video. I hope you watch the full video and save the playlist, which I provide the link in the description. So let's start with the new questions. Which Azure service provides capability to understand human language, sentiment analysis and language translation? So for this you need to understand, okay, what does it mean by understand human language, what is sentiment analysis and what is language translation. So for that you need to be very familiar with the key elements for language model training, that is utterance, entities and intents. So what is utterance? So it's a user input that your model needs to interpret. Means whatever the command you give or whatever the input you provide to the model, that is become your utterance. Just like in our case, if we say like turn the lights on, so that full sentence or whatever the input we have provided to model, it is become utterance. Okay. What is the entities? When the words or phrase that is the focus of utterance. Okay, so like here the focus is like what we want to do, like we want to do something with the lights. Okay, so the word light in the utterance will become the entity. So light here is our entity in this sentence in our input. And what is intent? Basically what action and task you want to execute based on that word entities, like what you want to do with the light, what action you want to take or what task you want to do. So I want to basically turn it on. Okay, so turn on will become my intent. So I hope like these three will be very clear to you, like what will be the main focus will become entity, and what action or you want to do on that entity, it will become your intent, and the full input is your utterance. Okay, so I hope now this is very clear to you. So let's understand the first thing, like capability to understand human language. Okay, so suppose you give an input, I want to book a flight from Jaipur to Kota on 22nd January. So what action I want to do here? I want to book a flight. So this will become my intent. As we know, like action is like whatever you want to do. So now let's understand what does question mean by when it says capability to understand human language. Okay, so like to let's take an example. I want to book a flight from Jaipur to Kota on 22nd January. Just like we talk in day-to-day life like this, we provide an input to an model. Like I want to book a flight from Jaipur to Kota on 22nd Jan. So how does it interpret? It will check, okay, what is the intent, what is the entity, and what is utterance. So this full sentence will become the utterance. That is very clear to us. Then it will check what action it will want to do. So it wants to book a flight, so that will become my intent. It is like represent the action or task I want to execute. So I want to book a flight. Okay, so that will become my intent. Okay, so like it will give as output as intent book flight, and how much confident it is, basically as we talked about, like it just make the prediction, which is like gives a probability. So it is 91%, 91.8% sure that you want to book a flight. Okay, our model is like capable of that. And then it will check out the entities as well. Okay, what entities it want to like what are the important focus keywords in our sentence. It is Jaipur, it's Kota, and it's 22nd Jan. So these three words are basically main focus of our utterance. So this will become my entities. So it will show us result like entities. It representing from city Jaipur. It is 100 confident about it. To city Kota. It is also 100% confident about it, and the flight date it's January 2nd. So it is also very confident about it. So that way model interprets like what you want to say, or it understand your human natural language, just like we talk in day-to-day life. So that way our model interprets what you want to say when you speak in your natural human language. Okay. And next thing we talked about is sentiment analysis, as our question talk about it. So let's understand what is sentiment analysis. So if like someone gives a review and provide the detail like the food and service were unacceptable. So how does model interpret it? It gives us a sentiment. Okay, is it a positive sentiment? It is a neutral sentiment, or it's a negative sentiment. So it says 99%, and it's like sure it's a negative sentiment sentence. So how does it interpret it? It will check, okay, what is the like opinion and what is the target for it. So it will check the target. Okay, it is talking about food, so this will become target. And what's the assessment of the food? So it is saying it is unacceptable. So assessment is unacceptable, which representing the negative sentiment, and it is 100% sure about it. Same another target is service. So like user is talking about service as well, and what is the assessment of that? It is also unacceptable. So that is also like a negative sentiment, and our model is 100% sure about that. So like overall sentiment is also negative. So that way our model do the sentiment analysis, and language translation is you already know. So like which Azure service is capable of doing that? So let's discuss all the options one by one. First is Azure AI Documentary Intelligence. So it's basically a service which help you to extract text from the like any document, or just like we use Google Lens and everything. If you want to just copy a text from a picture or some documents, you want to like there is a document and you want to just copy the table from it, and you just scan it and it will give you a table in Excel or Word file, whatever you want. So that you can do using document intelligence. Another one is AI decision. So it is related to decision making APIs, just like if you want to like personalize some content according to like when you search for something and AI automatically recommends something similar to that. So where or AI making automatic decisions, so that will come under part of this. Another is bot service. So bot is basically just to give make those more bots and utilize them. So that is also not capable of doing it. Yeah, Azure AI language, which is like overall branch of this Azure services, which can do all these tasks like understand natural human language, sentiment analysis, language translation. So definitely Azure AI language is going to be my answer, as it provides natural language features to understand and analyze text. And document intelligence, we already talked about, it is used to extract key value pairs, table and structure from documents documentally. And AI decision also utilize NLP, but it is to produce recommendation for informed and efficient decision making. So like even Azure bot surveys, anomaly detector, personalizer, content moderator, and apply AI services like Azure cognitive search are part of AI decision. So you should be very aware about others option as well. This is also a like part of selecting, because sometimes you may feel like all the options are correct. So that way, if you know about all the options, that will help you to segregate, okay, yeah, this one fits much better to me, so I will go with this option. And bot services, we already talked about, it is a part of decision AI services, and it is used for bot building with the help of power virtual agents, so which requires no coding at all. Okay, so our option, our answer would be Azure AI language. So let's come to next question. You are building a web app named web app 1 by using Azure OpenAI SDK. Okay, you need to configure web app 1 to connect with OpenAI model named model 1. What information you must provide? Okay, so this question you cannot solve just by reading simple English. This requires some amount of like practical experience with you, because like like OpenAI models, like when you named it just like model 1, so it will it does not represent the model name actually. It represent the deployment name. Okay, because OpenAI models are basically, if it is like GPT-3, GPT-4. So you can check all the model names here on the OpenAI page, that it is GPT-4o, 4o mini, GPT-4 turbo, and 3.5 daily, all these models which are available from OpenAI side. So definitely model 1 will not going to be its name. So that is representing, model 1 is representing the name of the deployment. Okay, so this is like to make you confuse in this question. Okay, so you want to connect your web application with this deployment name model 1, which is this deployment having a OpenAI model. So what information you need to provide? The endpoint, key, and model type. So endpoint, yes, do we require, because we should tell endpoint represent, okay, where you want to connect. And the key, definitely this is also required to basically authenticate your and authorize yourself. And model type, so model type is definitely not required. You can connect to different model types and it does not matter to make a connection with that. Okay, second is deployment name, key, and endpoint. So as I said, this represent the like deployment name, but do we require a model name or deployment name? So in our case, to make a connection, we require a deployment name. Whatever we are deploying, that does not matter. That's it's like from the OpenAI side. Okay, so that we cannot like decide and not in our control. But deployment name, which we provide, just like model 1 here, we need to provide that. So that is definitely going to be my answer. Let's check other option. If there is a like better option, maybe some other information also we need to provide. So deployment name, key, and the model name. So like model name is definitely not required, not necessary to provide it. And last option is endpoint, yes, key, and model name. So that is also not required. Model name is not my need. I require deployment name, key, and endpoint. So B is my option. And you can see, so like to connect an OpenAI model using SDK, you need to provide the deployment name that you want to use, and it is the name which we assign to the model. Okay, that is like important thing to remember from this question. Okay, and next is the endpoint. So this is the represent the URL which you can find in the overview section in the Azure portal. And the last is the key, which is the basically API key which you can find in the key and endpoint section, basically help you to authorize and authenticate. Next question, when designing a system to provide personalized recommendation, which service would be most appropriate? Okay, so it want personalized recommendation. So that's come under the category of decision making, as we already talked in the previous question. So let's talk about the other options. So what is the first option? Azure functions. So Azure function is basically like serverless services. So that is does not representing the what question wants. Azure AI personalizer. So yes, as we already discussed in the previous question, like in the decision AI services, we can see a personalizer is there, and it also help us to produce recommendation, and personalizer especially help in personalized content to provide us. Okay, so that is definitely going to be my answer, but let's check other option as well. Azure machine learning. So that is for a general machine learning task, does not actually representing only the personalized recommendation. And Azure cognitive search. So that is also part of decision AI, but it does not provide personalized recommendation. So my answer is definitely going to Azure AI personalizer. Okay, so it shows the application. Even when you go to Netflix and when you watch some horror movie, it generally shows more horror movies to you, or whatever genre you watch, it will shows more videos or films according to you. Even with the YouTube also, when you watch some videos, it shows similar videos to you. That is because they are utilizing some personalizer AI, which utilizes reinforcement learning to basically provide you the personalized content. So what product you should show to your customer so you can maximize your sale or their likelihood to purchase that item. So that way it is utilized in the e-commerce sector. In content recommendation, we already talked about it. You want to increase your click-through rate, so most people click to your video and watch it more and more. In the content design as well, where you want to place your advertisement, so it will be more visible and more clickable for the users. And in the communication part, when and how a notification should be changed, we see apps like Zomato, Swiggy, this send a particular notification at a specific time, and what notification need to be sent, and in what manner you want to send inside the app, you want to give a pop-up notification. So that all will be taken care by Azure AI personalizer, or whatever the personalized service they are utilizing. Okay, so you are building an okay, so let's come to next question. You are building a solution in Azure that will use Azure Cognitive Service for language to process sensitive customer data. You need to ensure that only specific Azure processes can access the language service. The solution must minimize administration effort. What should you include in the solution? So this question may seems like it is related to AI, but it is not. It is like admin task, but it can come into the Azure AI exam with the these terms like Azure Cognitive Service. But basically what question is asking, you want to ensure that only a specific Azure process can access the particular language service or any service. Basically you have to do same things. Okay, and you want to minimize the administrative part. That is also very important. Okay, so let's check all the option. So first option is IPsec rule. So IPsec is basically used for security purposes, for to secure an already established channel for communication between two endpoints. Okay, so it is for security, but here it is asking me to ensure the specific Azure processes can access it. So here it is asking me to specify only specific Azure processes can do, but it is not asking to make it more secure. Okay, so IPsec rule will not be able to do my task. Next is virtual network rules. So yes, virtual network can be utilized for this, and very less administrative effort is also required. So that is can be my option. Let's see other option. Azure application gateway and virtual network gateway. So yes, gateways can be also utilized, but it will not minimize the administrative efforts. Okay, you require to do more efforts into it to set up the gateways. So definitely virtual network gateway will be my option. So as I said, virtual network rules will ensure that only specific Azure process can access it by configuring the IP addresses to, so it can restrict the endpoints to particular services which are deployed in particular IP ranges which we have configured. Okay, so this way you can make it restricted to certain Azure processes with less administrative effort, And gateway can also work, as I said, but it requires too much effort, and IPsec is for securing the like established channel between 2 points. And you can read more about it. You can just take a screenshot and go to this portal, and it will help you to understand more it. But as we talked, like this way, using virtual network rules, you can access the certain Azure processes with less administrative effort. So next question: when planning for a solution in compliance with responsible AI principle, which factors should be considered? So for this question to be answered, you should be familiar with Microsoft responsible AI principles. Okay. So let's see all the options, and then we will deeply discuss what are these responsible AI principles. So let's discuss accountability. So yes, accountability is one of the responsible AI principle. Cost optimization, scalability, and contracts. Even though you will see, okay, when you are planning something for a like any solution, AI solution, then definitely you want to consider cost optimization, or you want to consider the scalability of the solution. You want to make sure you follow the contracts and all these. But for responsible AI principle, like these are the specific terms related to Microsoft, which they want to ask you. For responsible AI principle, you want to make sure you should follow the accountability, as it is a part of responsible AI principle. So there are total 6 guiding principles for responsible AI according to Microsoft. That is, you should follow the transparency. One should be accountable for the solution it make. It should maintain the privacy and security. It should be fair enough to provide the solution. It should be inclusive and include, it should not exclude any like particular race or anything. And it should be reliable in safety. So these 6 principle exact terms you should know. Even if in terms of accountability, if come responsibility, you should not choose that option. They will try to confuse you with that. Okay. Even they mean accountability or responsibility, take responsibility, it may mean same thing. But you should remember, you should memorize these 6 terms. I memorize it by using like the first letters of all their word, like TAP, FIR, transparency, accountability, privacy, TAP, and FIR, fairness, inclusiveness, reliability, and safety. This way I memorize the 6 guiding principle for responsible AI. Okay, let's come to the next question. Which of the following steps are crucial when creating Azure AI services? So let's see what are the steps they have given. Configure networking settings. So that is not, I think, a crucial step. Sometimes you don't configure network settings at all. Select appropriate Azure region and right pricing tier. Yes, definitely this is very important. And let's check the last option, setting up the data export schedule. So definitely B is going to be answer. It is like a very common thing, like first you select the Azure region and you want the pricing into the right category. But that is definitely going to be answer. As I want my Azure resources to be as near to me, so it will reduce the latency. Next is data residency, which basically means like because of the some laws and regulation, you want your data to be restricted into particular area. You want to store that in particular area. So for that you need to choose the appropriate Azure region, and of course the cost. So that's why you choose the right pricing tier. Okay, so let's come to the next question. You plan to perform predictive maintenance. Okay, so basically you want to like make sure you maintain and pre-assume and found out the like if there is any error or not. You collect IoT sensor data from 100 industrial machine for a year. Okay, each machine has a 50 different sensors that generate data at 1 minute interval. Okay, so there is a lot of data. In total you have 5000 time series data sets. Okay, we have a time series data set, so there comes the important keyword. And you need to identify unusual values in each time series to help the predict machinery failures. Okay, so you want to identify unusual values and you want to do it at a large scale. Which Azure service you should use? Okay, so I already know by reading all this like what is going to be answer, but let's check all the options, then we will talk about it. So Azure AI computer vision. So here we have to identify the unusual value. Computer vision is help me to analyze visually. Okay, so that is, and like I want to analyze from the time series data. So that computer vision is not going to help me. Next is cognitive search. So that is also not going to help me, as it just behaves like in search engine where you can search from your generative AI applications or general AI application. Next is document intelligence. We already talked about it. It just scans your documents and provide you structures, text, and etc. Next is Azure AI Anomaly Detector. We talked about it. It is a part of decision making. So yes, it can identify the unusual values. So even in the simple English, anomaly represent the deviation from a regular behavior, that is called as anomaly. So it is representing identifying the unusual values, anomaly detector. So that is definitely going to be my answer, and it is specifically for the time series data as well. So let's click on it. So you can see like Azure AI Anomaly Detector is the AI service which help you to monitor and detect anomalies in your time series data, and with less of machine learning, and it can work on batch validation as well as on the real time inference as well. Okay, next question. So how are client application typically granted access to the Azure AI service endpoint? Here you need to grant access to of your application to an Azure AI service endpoint. So what you need to do, your application must specify a valid subscription key. So yes, we need a subscription key as well. You need to give access to Azure AI services granted to anonymous user by default. So no, it does not give anonymous user access by default. Basically, it does not give access by default to anything. The user of application must enter a username and password associated with the Azure subscription. So so this and first option and last option might confuse you. Okay, yes, maybe to grant access you need to provide username and password, but if you have worked on practically on it, you know, like you need to provide the valid subscription key. So that is definitely going to be my answer, as by default access to Azure AI service is based on a subscription key. Last second question is, in which format are message exchanged between a client app and an Azure AI services resource when using a REST API? Okay, so it's XML, JSON or HTML. So it's a very common question, and even if you have worked practically at least once or twice, you know, message are exchanged in the JSON format. So JSON format is like right answer. Like they submit the request in the JSON format and receive the response also in JSON response in REST APIs. Last question is, you have been assigned the task of using the face service in Azure to identify the gender and age of the individuals in particular data set. So yes, face service is capable enough to identify the gender and the age of the particular individuals. So yes, this can be do. So even the question is giving you some knowledge also, like what face service can do. It can identify the gender and age based on the face, and you have created a face client object to achieve this and plan to use the face client library in C#. As I already told in the previous video, they generally try to utilize C# or Python, and mostly C# they will push it for, but nowadays also Python code they also will push it. Okay, so you have created a face client object in your C# language and you are utilizing face client library. Okay, now you must determine the method to call and to find rectangular face coordinates and location. You want to get an output into a regular face coordinates, okay, from where to where face is coming in the picture, like x coordinate, y coordinate, and what is the location over that. So which method you will choose? Okay, so let's see all the option. So for this you need to be aware like what each option will does. So first option, group async. So it is used to group face in the given image. So definitely that will not do our task to find the rectangular face coordinates and locations. So that is definitely not going to help me. Next option is find similar async. So it is used to find the similar faces in the particular face list. Okay, but here that is not required. So definitely this is also not solving my task. Next is detect with URL async. Okay, so yes, this can be used to utilize. Basically it helps us to detect face in the images, and it also returns the face location or the coordinates on the landmarks, and even certain attributes like gender and age, which the question is talking about. So yes, detect with URL async we can do our task, And last option is identity async, which will help us to identify faces from our face list. So I'm going to choose detect with URL async. So yes, it is correct option. So basically it detects the faces in image specified URL. So it go the name detect with URL async, and it will return attributes like face, location, landmarks, and other attributes like gender and age. So this is going to solve me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments how was the video, so it will help me to improve video further. And if you have any feedback or suggestion for me, please let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe the channel. This is really going to help me. It's free for you, but helps me really a lot. See you guys in the next video. Till then,